Let me introduce myself. My name is Hian and I'm from Group 8. Our group has 4 people. They are Dung, Han, Hai and me. So what I would like to present to you today is sand relations. In our presentation, we will explain and preview on this topic. The presentation, we will focus on 4 major features. First of all, introductions. Secondly, types of sand relations. And thirdly, componential analysis. And then we come to entanglement and the truth of sentence. So it should take about 30 minutes to cover these features. So what do you know sand relations? To answer this question, following me to learn it. First of all, introductions. A sand relations is a paradigmatic relations between words or predicates. It's clear that words can be not defined independently of other words that are semantically related to them and delimit their sense. So let's leave that to next part about types of sand relations. There are 2 major types of sand relations. These are substitutional relations and combinatorial relations. These are other types of sand relations. The first, substitutional relations are those existing between members of the same grammatical category and is interchangeable belonging to the same grammatical category. For example, different verb into sentence. They play football every day and they watch football every day. So these verbs can replace one another word in the same sentence structure, even though their meaning are different. The second, combinatorial relations. This can be described as collocational, and in other words, some item collocate with others, and it isn't interchangeable and belonging to different grammatical category. So in Vietnamese, it is the same between English and Vietnamese in combinatorial sense relations. For example, relations between nice and women in a nice woman is combinatorial. So that brings us to the end of our second point. So I would like to move on next part in types of sand relations. This part will be presented by Thanh Hai.
First, we will talk about hyponymy. This is a relationship where the meaning of one word is included in the meaning of another word. In other words, the more specific word is covered by the more general one. These relationships can be organized in a chain or in hierarchical level. It's also known as the superordinate and subordinate relationship, which is asymmetric and highly structured. A very familiar example is the pair flower and fruit. In this case, fruit is a more specific word included between the meaning of flower. In other words, fruit is hyponymy of flower. Another example we have animal and tiger. Tiger is a hyponymy of animal. So that is the end of the first type of relationship. Now let's move on to meronymy. Meronymy came from the Greek word meron, meaning a past. This is a pastoral relationship. Unlike hyponymy, which focuses on category and type, meronymy is shown about structure. For example, arm, eyes, hand, head, nose. They are not type of a body, but parts of a body. We can apply the rule. If A is a part of B and B is a part of C, then A is also a part of C. After looking at the two fundamental relationships, now we move on to semantic field. Semantic field is a group of related words that belong to the same system of meaning. For example, in the field animal, we have dog, cat, horse, sheep. They are connected by the shared semantic filter. Next, we have paraphrase. This is a relationship where two sentences share the same truth condition. They are expressed differently, but still convey the exact same meaning. For example, A. I don't like a cat. B. I'm not fond of cat. We can say that B is paraphrase of A. Or with a structure, I bought her a present and I bought a present for her. Even though the structure changes, but the meaning remains the same. Finally, to wrap up the theoretical part today, we will talk about the opposites of paraphrase, which is contradiction. Contradiction occurs when a sentence must be false because the meaning of the word clash. For example, he is both married and single. This sense of married and single are incompatible. In that no one both married and single. We have finished finding out the hyponymy, meronymy, semantic field, paraphrase, and contradiction. Now let's move on to the part of the presentation.
One lexical graph. Definition a lexical graph refers to the absence of a word in particular area of a language vocabulary event, so the concept could logically exist. In other words, it describes a situation where certain meaning or relationship has no corresponding term in the language. Explanation language do not always have perfectly symmetrical vocabulary. Some meanings are simply not legible, which means speakers must express them so phrase or explanation instead of single word. Example, there is no single superordinate term for come and go or for teacher and student. However, parents serve as a superordinate term for father and mother. The word covers slave, male, female, and for young, and word cover Billy, God, nanny, God, and kids. Yes, say no singular nouns that include burn, cow, and crab under one term. Lexical review how language vary in the way the cat category and label concepts. Marked and unmarked term definition in linguistic contrast. A term is called marked if it contains an additional prefix or express a more specific meaning, while unmarked term is simple and more general. The unmarked term often serve as a default or neutral member of category. Explanation marking may appear morphologically through as suffix or prefix, or semantically through narrow meaning. Thus, the unmarked term usually denotes the broader or neutral meaning, while the marked form indicates specificity or additional grammatic information. 3. Componential analysis. Definition: componential analysis is a linguistic method used to describe the meaning of words by breaking them down into smaller semantic features, also known as component semantics, property, or explanation is after, so that the meaning of a word is determined by the totality of its possible relation to the other words within the same semantic. 5. Features are typically represented by present and absent symbol to indicate whether a certain property applies. Example words: men and boys share the feature human and matter, but different and adult and object. Componential analysis helps clarify such semantic relationship by identifying the defining feature that distinguish word from each other.
Next, I will present the final part of our topic, which includes two main points: entailment and the truth of sentences. So let's start with entailment. Entailment is a relationship applied between two sentences, where the truth of one applies and the truth of the other because of the meaning of the word involved. For example, it rained, so the ground was wet. Obviously, the ground was wet. It could not be true anytime it rained. An entailment is something that logically from what is asserted in the urban. Entailments are inferences that can be drawn solely from our knowledge about the semantic relationship in the language. This knowledge allows us to communicate much more than what we actually say. Entailment apply cumulatively transitive relation. If X entails E, E entails Z, so X entails Z. For example, X John killed beer. E a beer is dead, so Z an animal is dead. There are two types of entailment. One-way entailment. The entailment is the entailment of the first type came about because of hyponymic hyponymic relation between words. For example, I saw a dog, so I saw an animal. Two-way entailment. The entailment between a pair of sentences are mutual, since the truth of either sentence guarantee the truth of the other. For example, John taller than Tom, so Tom is shorter than Tom. Note: one-way entailment, a hyponymic relation between words. Two-way entailment, a phrasal verb and relational pair of antonymy, sell or buy, lend or borrow. So let's move on to the truth of sentences. Type A, analytically and necessarily. Choose sentence. A sentence that is necessary true because of the meaning of the word. That, for instance, by definition, a dog is an animal, so dogs are animals must be true. Type as contingent and syntactically true or false sentence. A sentence that can be true or false depending the real word. For example, John is from America. Can be true or false because John can only came from England, not just America. Tai C, contradiction. A sentence is necessarily true because of the meaning of the word contradict each other. For example, water is dry. That's the end of my part, and now I would like to invite Hiền to summarize our presentation.
Let's go back to what we were discussing earlier. The presentations because there's relations in language, including types such as substitutions, combinatorial, hypernym, and mirroring. These relations have been defined words meaning and are similar in both English and Vietnamese. It also covers semantic field system of manifoldly related words and concepts like lexical gap and marked or unmarked are also introduced. And finally, the presentation explains combinatorial analysis. Is a method of breaking down word meaning into semantic fields, and entailment is a relation where the truth of one sentence implies the truth of another based on word's meaning. Thanks for listening.